Well, let's turn to Lisbon now. I'm joined there by Bruno Macaes, the Portuguese Secretary of State for European Affairs. Secretary of State, a very good evening to you. Tell us, if you would, how many refugees the Portuguese have accepted as part of the redistribution programme or will take in future.
Well, as you know, there's two stages. One that was already approved a couple of months ago, and that one we are committed to receiving 1,500 refugees. The second phase, which totals to 120,000, as you know, this is not completely decided yet. We still need a vote in the Council. The number that has been proposed by the Commission is 3,000, but I think we have to wait for the process to be finalized.
Well, you'll know, won't you, Secretary of State, that it's not proving very easy. And if we take seriously some of the noises coming from East European capitals, where I am in Hungary, Slovakia, the Czech Republic too, there is almost a determination there, isn't there, not to bow to German, as they see it, German demands in particular, to take their fair share.
It's true. It's been a very difficult discussion. I've participated in it since the beginning. It's been difficult, unusually difficult. We have to try to find a compromise, a viable compromise, which first of all recognizes the rights that refugees have to protection, to international protection. And from there, I think we can find the right kind of compromise that also allows countries, particularly in Eastern and Central Europe, to have a certain degree of flexibility, which they're calling for.
Well, presumably that spirit of compromise, in terms of what the Eastern Europeans want, would simply mean they take fewer than the Germans and the French currently want them to. That's a compromise, isn't it?
No. I think the way I see it, we need to have a quota system in the end. I think this is necessary in order to solve this collective action problem, in order to make sure that the burdens are equally shared among all member states. This is the European idea. And then member states in Central and Eastern Europe are calling attention to the fact that they need to have a measure of control over the process. And without compromising the basic principles of burden sharing and respecting the rights of refugees, I think we have to try and walk towards that kind of a final vote. Let's hope it's possible next week already. It's crucial to move fast on this.
Yeah, it's also important, I suppose, to move with as much community spirit as possible, making sure that the entire European project adheres to some of its core principles. Certainly that's what many people in Brussels would say. What do you say, Secretary of State, to those people who are arguing right now that one of the core principles of the entire European movement, if we can call it that, the Schengen Agreement, the idea of open internal borders, which has been such a boost for trade internally within Europe and has helped Europe be much more cohesive as an entity, that some people say that is in jeopardy right now. What do you say to them?
You're not going to hear that from me. Schengen is not in jeopardy. Schengen is not at stake. Schengen is a founding principle of the Union as we have it today. We need to fit all the other policies around Schengen in order to preserve Schengen. I don't think there's any risk that Schengen will be put in jeopardy simply because everyone agrees that the European Union is also very fundamentally about Schengen. No compromise on that.
Right. How would you characterise, Secretary of State, the actions, the behaviour, the tactics, the strategy of Viktor Orban, the Hungarian Prime Minister? Because he was vilified by many, many people and has been for the last 2-3 weeks, perhaps longer. His decision to erect the fence that I'm standing by now, some of the harder, more muscular measures he's taken. And yet, we learned in the last 2 days that the Germans are imposing some partial border controls, the Slovaks the same, and now the Austrians as well. For all that he's been criticised, he was actually being quite prescient. He could see the problem and came up with a tough measure to deal with it. What say you?
I was in Budapest a month or a month and a half ago, and I told my Hungarian colleagues and also the media in Budapest that I thought the wall was a very bad idea. First of all, because refugees need to be able to have access to protection. And so these kind of physical obstacles are against international law and the Geneva Convention. We have to be aware of that. And second, because the EU is not about physical obstacles. It's about applying the law. And we have the law that we need to apply. So I am very critical of the positions that the Hungarian government has taken. I will not engage in the sort of rhetoric that I think over the past 2 weeks some have engaged in, aggressive, divisive. I'm critical of the positions, but as I said at the beginning, I am still confident that we can reach an agreement next week, or if not next week, then perhaps at a European Council, which may be, in fact, necessary as we know.
Bruno Macaes, who is the Secretary of State with particular responsibility for European affairs, joining us from Lisbon tonight. Bruno, thank you very much indeed.
That's a pleasure.
Well.